Good evening, everyone. I would like to reconvene from closed session at 6:49. Mr. City Attorney, can you please provide a report on our closed session items?
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. The record should reflect the City Council convened in closed session after announcing the one item under conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation that is posted on the agenda. The record should further reflect that all members were present in closed session with the exception of Councilwoman Jimenez, that the City Council received a briefing on the third tolling agreement as presented. The City Council provided unanimous direction to authorize my office to process and execute the third tolling agreement and forward that to legal counsel for the BKK working group. That concludes my report from closed session. It's appropriate to continue with the open portion of the meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. City Manager, are there any correction or changes to the agenda today?
Yes, Mayor. Item number 2 and ceremonial presentations will be moved to the meeting of February 28th.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving forward with our ceremonial items and presentations, we do have a presentation by Chief Pelias and Ms. Angelica for the Montebello Corridor Grade Separation. Oh, I'm so sorry. For the Montebello Prevention and Supportive Services for Unhoused At-Risk Individuals. Oh, I apologize for that. If we can please have Mr. City Clerk, may you please do the Pledge of Allegiance, and Mr. Treasurer, can you please do the invocation today?
Hello, okay. Lord, we have meeting here today to conduct matters of business. Guide our hearts and our minds in the spirit of fairness, bright thought and speech. Impart your supreme wisdom upon our activities so that our affairs may reach a successful conclusion. Thank you for being our source of guidance today. Amen.
Please place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
Thank you so much, Mr. City Clerk and Mr. Treasurer. Moving forward with our ceremonial items and presentations, if I can please have our Chief and Deputy Angelica for the next presentation.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the City Council. Okay, we're going to be doing our quarterly update and informing you on the progress that we're making with MCAP. Can you hear me okay? Okay, thank you. And so I'll start it off and then I'll hand it off to Angelica. We also have some guests here in the audience. We have from La Cara, Los Angeles Center for Alcohol and Drug Abuse. We have Joshua Heisman, Director of Homeless Services. We also have Manny Mora. He's a program manager for our tiny homes. So they'll be available to answer any questions after the presentation, as will staff. Also, MCAP is here today. Okay, thank you. So I'm going to talk a little bit about why. You see there on your PowerPoint. The role of the fire service in local government remains an integral public safety element, becoming vital to the need of emergency services, especially due to our multidimensional approaches and the constant evolving and adapting to meet the needs of the community, which is something we're doing with MCAP. We're constantly looking at best approaches and best practices. So we're constantly evolving. We're also addressing critical emergency health needs through the lens of medical, public health, and social conditions such as mental health and crisis, substance misuse, gun violence, and structure fires. One of the things that we're seeing is an uptick in mental health, and it's a problem in the region, in the state, and resources are becoming very limited, which takes us to the next bullet point, the increase in 911 calls. We're also seeing quite an increase in calls for service. We're seeing a health and a human crisis in our state. So our approach in Montebello Fire Department is valuing each resident in a holistic approach through emergency services and assessing our internal resources to make sure that they're being effective. One of the things that I'm also would like to add is that we're also getting a lot of requests from fire departments, out-of-state departments, inquiring about our program, what are we doing, and our model, which is exciting. Under the fire department, I oversee 5 different divisions. Community support and outreach division is a division that we're presenting today, and that under that division, we have MCAP, we have our Operation Stay Safe project in partnership with La Cara, You Are Home Initiative, and Operation Shield project, our Cannabis 64 engagement, education, and awareness. They all fall under that division. One of the things that I'm probably the proudest up to is in my time here, I've never seen such a huge collaboration between fire and police. It's amazing to see the Met team and MCAP working together in helping our community and our unhoused residents. So it's very satisfying to see them work together. You can see Officer Merrill there in one of the pictures. At this time, I'm going to hand it off to Angelica Palmeros, our Deputy Director.
So good evening, Mayor and council members. I'll continue the presentation. The part that we talk about, and as we've been obviously for 3 years starting, the services for homeless and trying new things and seeing what the community needs and taking their input, we obviously have different types of approaches. We do our emergency response. We now have a transitional shelter, and we're starting to really look at funding around permanent housing and prevention. So that's also to help clients stay, where they're at without losing their current, space. So we're looking at additional funding to assist. One of the things that I wanted to just share is that obviously when we go for grants, the impact that it has in the community. The green dots are our second team that was approved through council. And we're seeing the expansion of where we're touching now in the city, where they're going, what they're doing. So it's been beneficial to address the increase in homelessness. Next. Oops. I gotta use these. So basically, I put the numbers here, the type of services based on the map in the expansion, so that you can see what's going on and which programs are working on what type of more services. Pretty much the same. The only difference has been transportation and motel stay, but the difference also here is we're adding structure fire housing displacements, which is now we're being called to care for those families that get displaced due to fires. Recently, through the encampment grant, we've been allowed to really collaborate and partner. And as of October 2023, we started building, this coalition of providers. and we go to the, what is it, the Lincoln and the Riverbed, yeah. So we now have all these providers helping us every month, once a month. And since the onset of this program, we have been serving 105 unhoused residents. The other program that I'm really proud of and we're trying to build and expand is obviously You Are Home Initiative. Is really the program where we house and we give them a key. And I think the team can speak on that, on the, obviously the motions that go with it. And as Andrew shared with me, in fact, a note from one of our clients, it was that after 4 years, her children could have, you know, a Thanksgiving in a home at the table, you know, and that to us is exciting. I mean, maybe for someone it's not much, but for us it's just a thought that you can have your own table, your chairs in a home. So in this program, we actually provide security deposits, rental assistance. We are engaging our landlords to increase our housing and in the companies as well. And you'll see the numbers so far for the quarter that we're reporting. Under the same program, we have increased our landlord engagement. So now we are up to 8 landlord programs for us that are helping us house individuals. So once they have availability of space, they call us and we have the apartment or the house or whatever is available for them. Then our housing inventory has increased, working with the San Gabriel Regional Housing Trust. With the funding that they've provided, we've been able to increase that capacity, as you see, for single rooms, studios, and we continue to build it. And also because it provides, if a client gets all their paperwork ready, we have a space to work off. So that's really important. I don't think this work could be done without our community members. Also the short-term financial, as we place them, and we don't want to lose the apartment as well. So we try to incentivize. And obviously, our funding is coming from our PHLA, Permanent Local Housing, our encampment grant, and also from the COG, the San Gabriel Valley COG. We often, and I wanted to bring this up because I think it's going to talk about the future, also what's happening with this crisis and where we're looking at and how to better serve. And the more we look at our future, we can plan better to serve our residents. So obviously, we're looking at the events that are occurring in the future, which are going to probably displace other unhoused individuals to other cities. So we're looking at, you know, the impact that could have. Just so you know, right now, our officers and our teams, there's limited emergency shelter in LA, or in all LA County, but really none nearby us that we can take. Our team is going to Palmdale and Lake Elsinore to just use a shelter, emergency shelter. And I was looking at the time it takes them an hour depending on how traffic is. So you have these teams out of the city for a long time. And for substance abuse services that we find a bed is Lake Hughes, that was it, which I saw that it takes about an hour and 45 minutes to get there. While you stay with the client and then come back. So we're talking about resources being out of the city for a long period of time. So again, limited availability of different types of housing. One of the discussions we've been having is that we often say affordable housing, but it really is, we're looking at skilled nursing facilities as well, opportunities to have partnerships with others that offer, you know, substance abuse or mental health, and not necessarily they need more help. Most of our clients need additional help. The need for the mental health services, there's not really sufficient, and I think one of the opportunities we have is to really plan to have these collaborations. An area that we're finding out to be somewhat difficult is our residents that are already housed, and unfortunately there's a fire, they get displaced. The problem is we're now displacing families to other cities and putting their children and disrupting their lives, so they're no longer here in Montebello. We have to change schools, they have to change, what they know. And so it's been very difficult because they want to stay here, but they can't afford it anymore, to pay the rent. So I think that's tragic in a way that we're losing families to other cities when that happens. So we're trying to explore how can we keep our residents in our city, and what can we do. And that may mean engaging the landlord as well and seeing, how they can speed up fixing the unit. The healthcare, as we mentioned, the need for more skilled nursing facilities, because we're having clients that are not able to, or individuals that obviously they have additional needs, disabilities as well, and health issues. And recently, we started also observing, which is another impact that we are finding out as we go, is an increase in families with young children that are homeless and are elderly. Just our tiny homes, we're seeing a huge increase in our elderly. I can tell you that for the first time this year, in 2 weeks, we lost 2 clients in our tiny homes. They passed away. And so we weren't ready for something like that. I think we always think we want to, get them into a place, but I think just the fact that they were there with us at tiny homes meant a lot. So they would have a place to live. And probably all of you know, we're being impacted by a drug crisis that is not related necessarily to homelessness, but does correlate to a lot of the issues that are happening. And so that's increasing as well, and with limited, treatments. And also, we're trying to keep track of legislation because right now there's some federal bill that's going that could make encampments illegal, and that could impact how we do or how we serve our homeless community. So, and is that the most impactful way. So, in talking about Operation Stay Safe, some of the things that have come up, is that we now have a new vendor overseeing, which is La Cara. And we invited them today, so if they need to answer any questions or what their day looks like with the clients, obviously, this new model that we tried to do with La Cara was to really look at a more acute service. So they have a more mixed staffing to address, medical, mental health, substance, and so their acuity of care is higher. Obviously, the on-site services, we're increasing them to try to, prepare the clients for housing. Another thing that has come up is that our tiny homes is closed. So it's only by referral, and it's not a walk-in shelter. So basically, there's curfews. They need to abide by certain rules. And obviously, sometimes, it's building those structures, and that we're never there for some of our clients, but we're working with them. So it's not an in and out facility that they come in, they actually live there. So in the presentation, I did attach the Operation Stay Safe report for you from La Cara to show what's the number of clients that are there, gender, and who we're serving. And what I like about that report, and you'll see it, is that you're looking at all the mental health diagnoses, which we couldn't see exactly, but now we kind of have an idea what to provide to our clients, or what are we looking at. So areas of consideration, obviously, that as we continue serving with all these homeless services or different types of approaches, as mentioned, mental health. I think we have opportunity to advocate, especially that funding has been increased in the county. We don't get those Measure H dollars directly, but it would be an opportunity to discuss, and even with our local hospital, what can we do? And so substance abuse programs, the environments, obviously co-locating, and I can understand, like, when we say housing is the reason that, we imagine, individuals that are not prepared to be alone in a home and in a residency. The other thing is creating more stable income. What we've done is with families, we try to increase their income. Sometimes they have ability to apply for the social services benefits, or GR, and that's increasing their income if there's only one person working or two. And then obviously increase in healthcare, so coordination. And that brings us to the conclusion. And I've just attached some references at the end of the presentation for you.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I don't have my binder with the roll call, but I believe off of memory, just to go off roll call, Councilmember Tamayo, do you have any questions or comments?
No questions, just comments. Thank you for the presentation. I know you talked about MCAP being a model program and a collaboration between police and fire. And it's great to see that it's a continuum of care, meaning that you go from emergency to transitional to permanent housing. So you touch on the different stages, the different aspects of housing. And also, it's a collaboration. This was great to see between state and county and nonprofit agencies, legal aid, you have them on board as well. So thank you. Yeah, thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Tamayo. Up next, we have Councilmember Torres.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I just want to, I think, repeat one of the things that I've repeated when it comes to how we approach homelessness, is just that we're careful about the kind of money that we allocate toward this and how we see our city's role in trying to solve what is really a county-wide problem. As the presentation mentions, Montebello will see effects from things like the Olympics, from things like the World Cup, and I think it's great that, we're taking steps to address the issue. At the same time, I think that the council needs to just be very cognizant about our limited resources, and there's not a lot of ways to stop such a massive tide from a city like Los Angeles and the ways that it affects us. So just as we continue forward, just being very cognizant that these programs do rely on grant funding, being aware of the ways that it can impact the general fund if that grant funding were ever to evaporate. But all in all, just great to be helping these folks get housed, to be developing these programs, and I think hopefully be an example for other cities to kind of take this challenge on themselves. So Montebello is not in the front alone, but standing in line, in solidarity with all these cities trying to address this problem. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Melendez.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I have a question, and kind of also want to figure out how we can provide input to the county. So there's a bill that passed last year, SB 43 by Senator Eggman, and that's going to modernize the state's conservatorship laws. So now, for those folks that are not able to provide the necessary medical care, unable to provide for their personal safety, whether it's food, clothing, shelter, due to either severe substance abuse disorder or serious mental health illness, now they'll have like a conservator that might make those decisions, right? So my thing is, I think a lot of local governments were excited about the passing of this bill because now there could be some enforcement or getting some folks the help that they need. But I know that you're all the professionals here and you have the experience. So I'd like to know how we can go to the county when this gets implemented and how we can either voice our concerns, raise the issues and all that, because I think the intent is good, but I do think there could be some not so beneficial things to this. So I'd like for us to kind of like, start exploring that, because that's going to come into effect, I believe, in a year or a couple of years. And I think that's going to have a huge impact in the way we treat and we provide services. So just, maybe we can have a conversation and get that going. And then I know there was a conversation about substance abuse here. Just to give everybody perspective, with substance abuse, such a huge issue in all of our communities, in all of LA County. Right now, we're only treating probably 5% of the whole population that needs assistance with substance abuse. That means that we're missing 95% of the folks that need help with substance abuse. So there's a huge, I know there's gonna be huge efforts to get that 5% up, but just so you can kind of see the issues that we're facing now, we're only treating 5%. But yeah, that's just my comments, and again, thank you for all the hard work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Melendez. Councilmember Jimenez?
Thank you, Angelica and Chief Pelaez and the amazing MCAP team. I think, again, it's just beautiful to see the collaboration that you to establish with all these groups, the county and the state. But I do have a couple of questions, and not very, it's something that I never really thought about right now that you mentioned, the folk in the tiny homes. And this is something maybe completely unrelated, but what happens to these people what type of services are there any? No?
Sometimes there's none, or no family that claims, but.
So is it just like the coroners come in, take them and?
Well, they didn't die on site, they died in the hospital, but the hospital then has to do that. And some of unfortunately, our clients do not, will get claimed, others will. Even their items, we realized, we needed to work on how long do we hold on to items. We didn't really think of that because we never thought that would happen. And maybe we were kind of naive to think it wouldn't happen,
Okay, now with that bill that prohibits the encampments, how do you really see that affecting? I mean, I know we have the encampments down in down the riverbed. We don't see too many around the city, but what would happen to the folks down there? Should this bill?
Again, it may mean, arresting them or charging them with, being illegally in the encampment. Right now, it's at federal level, being reviewed. It would be the biggest change if we do from the Boise, case that went to court.
Okay, the incentive program. Are we continuing to do the outreach to the community, or how does your team do that? Just to because I don't know if too many families are aware that this exists, except for the ones that probably come to the meetings, or how do you do the outreach, or how do we tap into those families?
Well, normally we find them or they get referred to us that are homeless. Some of them you wouldn't even be able to tell that they were homeless. They try to take care of their children and live in the car. Some have disabilities, and so it comes by referral. So the schools as well.
Is that number growing? I just saw the chart, like we have, we have a significant amount of.
It's growing because, again, if you lose your job after the COVID, a lot of things, changed in terms of how, and the cost of, just rental or housing is high. And that's why we invited, the job placements as well to help us, connect them into employment.
Well, thank you. I applaud your services time and time again. I think what we have going on here with this team is amazing, and I hope that cities continue to, or try to move in this direction and do this in their own cities.
I just wanted to, make a comment that we'll be presenting with the summit on the 29th. And we're lucky to be able to share some of the, innovative approaches that we've tried to implement. It's not solving everything, it's just a little, but we are encouraging other cities. Just Friday, I got a call from Burbank, to see how they can get their own MCAP. And then we had LA County EMS, right? Even ask us, like, that we had a meeting about it. So it's really thrilling to see that people are seeing that it is working, that it is impacting, and that it's going to have to be a collective effort if we're going to address this. Not because the numbers are looking up to probably 85,000 unhoused, which increased a lot.
Thank you for your hard work.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Councilmember Jimenez. And thank you so much, Chief Pelaez and Deputy Director Angelica, for your presentation and the work that you're doing on the ground to really assist in the issue of homelessness within our community. As we know, there's a lot of factors to consider when it comes to this, as far as mental health, medical access, substance abuse. And so I really appreciate just the innovativeness behind the variety of programs that the city of Montebello is developing. And so I think one of the most important ones that I see on here is the You Are Home initiative and the permanent housing. One of the biggest issues is that transitional aspect of housing. We do have the temporary opportunities, but how do we get homeless residents into actual permanent housing? And so I believe last year or 2 years ago, we did recognize some of the landlords in our community as far as joining us through this program and being able to provide units for our homeless individuals that were going into temporary transitional to permanent housing. Do you mind sharing a little bit about how that landlord program works? What are the incentives that are being provided, and how they can, if they're watching tonight, or for those that can share a little bit more about this program, how they can join the city of Montebello in that effort?
So basically, obviously, we owe a lot to Andrew Leon, who's our, navigating this program. He's very vested in the community. What he does in what we call the old school style is, if he sees a for rent sign, he tries to find the landlord or the, manager of the apartments and engages through that process. We found about probably 8 landlords that had bad experiences, even with the providers. So they didn't want to, engage anymore. And I think I have to, give him kudos, because he was able to engage the landlords back again with, some of the money that we got was directed to helping landlords with repairs. After the individual may leave, or if they leave the apartment not in good conditions, then at least they have that to repair it. Also the deposit and last, so those are some of the things that, and then sometimes the funder has allowed us to give them, some of an incentive, maybe like $200, or depending on what they consider fair for the retention of that space. So those are some of the things that we're trying to establish and find out through data, how effective it is. And I think it is somewhat effective, because as well, I'm assuming landlords are also struggling. What we notice with the fire structures is, yes, there's an insurance, but then they're responsible for a certain amount, and then they can't repair these units as fast because they don't have the money. So those are some of the things that I think we're looking into, so that we can incentivize and assist. In a way, it's helping our community. The landlord, we need them, and we want to keep our families in the location, and the kids in the schools. So.
Thank you. One of the parts of the presentation that caught my attention, and if you could just elaborate a little more, is the Explore Nursing Skills Facilities as a housing alternative.
So one of the things that you were mentioning through that bill is, you're going to have individuals that are they're not here. And I'll be honest, being the social worker, and I know Sandra is, you're talking to individual, and they turn around and it's like you're meeting them again. It's like that movie, the 50 dates, the first 50 dates, because they don't recall or remember you at all. And I think those are the places that we are looking to support. So I think the word housing is used very broadly. When you say housing, everybody imagines a little house, right? But it's really looking at what fits that client and what's best for them. And I think that's a responsibility that we have. I know some people challenge it, but I think we have to do something because these clients are dying, these individuals are dying in the street. So overdoses or abuse or violence. So I think that's when we're looking at how can they be cared for? And so, or even assisted in taking showers. You can't put somebody in an apartment like that. And then and the other experience that we learned from our landlords is if they're not taking their psychiatric medication, then they're acting out and they're scaring the other residents in the other units. So it's a reality that we need to make sure that either we do home health services, we have supportive services that go to the home to assist them with food, daily cleaning, washing, or depending on what level of care. So I think those are some of the options that we see a lot. And sometimes we do need the skilled nursing facilities for a reminder of their meds. And they're still out, and about, but, they still have that, comfort level. So I think that's what we're looking at, those additional types of housing models.
Yeah, no, I appreciate kind of that innovation and integrating that workforce development component into the issues of housing and how we address them. And then lastly, just do want to kind of really recognize, I know earlier you talked about how these services, specifically MCAP, are being looked at not only regionally throughout the state, but even on a national level as far as how we address homelessness throughout our cities. And so do just want to commend the work that is being done within our department and through our city in being proactive and really looking at that innovative component of how we begin to not solve, but at least address these issues within Montebello. So thank you so much for the
No, thank you,
presentation.
Mayor.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And so moving forward with our next presentation, we do have the Montebello Corridor Grade Separation Project presentation by the San Gabriel Valley Council of Governments by Carrie Iseong, Senior Project Manager from San Gabriel Council of Governments.
Thank you, Mayor Peralta, Mayor Pro Tem Melendez, and members of the City Council. My name is Carrie Inseong. I'm a Senior Project Manager with the San Gabriel Valley Council of Governments, and I'm just here to give you a quick update on the Montebello Boulevard Grade Separation Project. Thank you. So what you see here is an aerial shot of the intersection of, or the at-grade crossing of the Union Pacific Railroad tracks where it meets Montebello Boulevard, and that's the site of the future grade separation. So since last appearing before your council in September of 2023, we've been busy with our contractor on pre-construction activities. We've been working with Southern California Gas on utility relocations. We've been setting up our construction trailers, which you can see there at the old site at the site of the old Shell gas station. We've also been doing demolition of some of the industrial properties that were acquired by San Gabriel Valley COG. You can see some of the demolition activities there, and the purpose of the acquisition of those properties and the demolition of those structures is to make way for the roadway when it's realigned when we build the underpass. This is just a picture of some of the utility relocations that are going on with SoCalGas. And I just want to add that in addition to SoCalGas, we're also coordinating relocations with SoCal Edison, Crimson California Pipeline, Crown Castle Fiber, AT&T, South Montebello Irrigation District, and Montebello Land and Water Company. So we are now entering the first phase of construction, which is where Greenwood and Montebello come together. As you can see in this picture, this is an aerial shot looking north that we took with our drone. So what you see here is we've had to close down Greenwood Avenue because this intersection is going to be reconfigured. We're going to get rid of the island that's there existing. So what you're seeing is some traffic controls in place to make way for our contractor to reconstruct that roadway, reconstruct curb and gutters, reconstruct sidewalks. And what's also going to be affected during this construction is there is a parking lot that is owned by the Montebello Mobile Home Park on the left side of your picture. So that is that little parking lot is used by residents of the mobile home park. When we're done with this phase of construction, that little parking area will be also reconstructed and restriped for the residents of the mobile home park. But right now, what's happening is traffic going south on Greenwood is closed, but there is local access to the affected residents and businesses going northbound. I know this is a little bit jumbled. I apologize for this. This is our engineering drawing, but I just wanted to point out to you what this intersection is going to look like when we're done with this phase in about 2 months. This intersection will also be signalized eventually at the end of the project. So we've been making sure that we provide outreach to affected, motorists, residents, business owners. So this is just a picture of our changeable message signs, just warning motorists of, the closure and construction work in the area, as well as, signs that we've put up indicating no parking where it's necessary. These are a couple of the construction alert notices that we've issued. The notice on the left is a construction alert notice, and we have posted that on our website, on our Twitter. We do have a Twitter account, which is @MontebelloGS. Instagram, our San Gabriel Valley COG Facebook, Nextdoor. We also emailed the construction alert notice to city staff, and we also emailed the construction alert notice on the left to about 70 plus HOAs, community-based organizations, and religious organizations, including the Montebello Village HOA and the Montebello Collective HOA, which are, right next to the construction. And then we've also, let me see, we have a long list here of people that we've contacted. Maria Cano, who is my coworker, who's our community liaison, or community relations liaison, hand-delivered 890 copies of that construction notice, with 800 copies going to Greenwood Avenue Elementary, ATC, and residents and businesses in the immediate area. And then the notice on the right is a direct impact information notice that we hand-delivered to the residents of the mobile home park. And we also posted that same notice on the cars that were parked on that parking lot, letting them know that there would be no parking in that parking lot beginning today, actually. And I do want to point out that in the construction alert notice on the left, we indicate that there will be, that we're going to start narrowing down the street and taking away some street parking along Vale and Greenwood. That has now changed to where we do not expect to need to take that street parking until later on in the year, when we're ready to move forward with some of the work that Union Pacific Railroad needs to do at those locations. So that'll hopefully lessen the impact to motorists. And then I did want to just also let you know that we're working to schedule a community open house, which is tentatively planned for March 28th, 6 to 8 p.m. at the Montebello Senior Citizens Center. Your Public Works Department is helping us to secure that venue. And later on in the year, towards the summer, we're planning a groundbreaking ceremony for the project, which is probably going to happen June, July. And our intention is to keep up with the community outreach that we've been doing as construction progresses. And we hope to provide verbal updates to your council with each subsequent phase of the construction. So I will probably be back in a couple of months with another update. And if you have any questions.
Thank you so much, Ms. Carey, for today's presentation. I'll go ahead and open it up to my colleagues. Councilmember Tamayo, if you have any questions or comments.
Just a quick comment. So I do want to stress the communication with the community on, the closures that are coming up and as the project is progressing. So I want to make sure that that happens along with the notices that are sent out. But for example, this open house, informing the community in that way, I think is very helpful. So what was the date? You had said March 8th, if you can repeat again?
I'm sorry, March 28th.
28th?
6 to 8 p.m. And we're still waiting to secure that date and that time, but city staff is helping us.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Tamayo. Councilmember Torres?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Great to see you again. Thank you very much for the presentation. And I'd like to also thank staff for making sure that this is agendized and working along with the COG, just to continually provide these updates as we're starting to see the impacts of construction more and more heading towards the large construction activities that we'll see shortly. First, I just want to say that I'm very happy to be sitting on the committee that's overseeing projects like these and having that space to ask questions and advocate for Montebello, as well as tend to the needs of other cities as well. And the outcome from those discussions, in part, being this increased communication, making sure that you guys are publishing this on all platforms. I think all of my colleagues and staff, and for anyone that's worked in this field, knows you're not going to reach everyone necessarily. You can put it in their mailbox, you can put it in their hand, doesn't mean that they're going to read it. I just want to make sure, at least on our end, and as you mentioned this evening, that we're pursuing every avenue possible to just let them know if those questions ever do come, that, hey, make sure that you subscribe to, social media posts. Make sure that when you see something from the city of Montebello or from the SGV COG that you're paying close attention, because it probably affects you if you're receiving it. So I think we're meeting that so far, and it'd be great to continue that. I do want to just ask one question, which I believe came up in the meeting, and I think the public would appreciate a bit of an update, but is on that traffic plan status. I understand that it's still kind of in flux, but if you could talk about that.
Sure, and thank you, Councilmember Torres and Councilmember Jimenez, for coming to our CPCC meetings. I think having you there definitely helps the project, and you get updates not only for Montebello Boulevard grade separation, but all the other projects that we're working on. And I think, as you can see, there's sometimes there's a common theme with challenges we face from Montebello to the other projects that we're currently constructing. So what I had mentioned at the February CPCC meeting of the San Gabriel Valley Council of Governments is that we are experiencing delays in getting our plans approved for at-grade safety improvements at Vale and Greenwood. And because of that, we're not able to establish the detours at Vale and Greenwood like as we had originally planned, which was to have those detours up and running by June, July of this year. So June, July is a critical timeline for us because that's when we intend to close down Montebello Boulevard and really start the major work on the construction, the mass excavation, the retaining walls on both sides. So in order to keep on track with that schedule, because we do have our contractor on board already. So in order to keep on track with that June, July schedule for the closure of Montebello Boulevard, we have approached your 3 neighboring jurisdictions to see if we can use their streets as detours, which would be Garfield Avenue and Rosemead Boulevard. So we've
Metro Station. So I urge the city council, I urge city staff, and I urge SGV-COG to work together to improve these designs and protect the most vulnerable. And I would also like to support the mayor's oral regarding the development of the city climate resiliency action plan. I recently attended a sustainability workshop at the city of Monterey Park, and I was very pleased at their approach to sustainability. And I would hope that Montebello, goes down that same path and works on improving, our recycling efforts. If we can have a separate stream of recycling waste that goes into a blue bin, if we can work with Athens, because Athens has this for other cities. So let's please work with Athens to get this blue bin program. Thank you.
Next speaker is Rosemary Gurola, followed by Joseph Sanchez.
Hold on for a quick second, City Clerk. Thank you, Mr. LaRocca. Mayor, I've been informed that the live feed went down, so I would recommend if we would take a quick 5-minute break so it allows us to fix it, so that way everybody's able to listen to the meeting.
So I'll go ahead and call for a 5-minute recess if that's appropriate. And can we please have IT look into that? Thank you. Hello? Okay. Thank you, everyone, for the patience in our technical difficulties. Would like to reconvene our meeting at 7:59. If we can go ahead and continue with public comments. Thank you for your patience.
Next, we have here Rosemary Gorola, followed by Joseph Sanchez.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. I'm Rosemary Gorola from the Montebello Library. Happy Valentine's Day and Happy Lunar New Year to those who celebrate that too. I'd like to tell you about our ever-popular Smarty Pants story time that is back at the library. We have a new children's librarian, and we also have a new teen librarian, so they're starting to do programs again. So the library should get even livelier now. But Smarty Pants story time is for those 2 to 5-year-olds, getting them ready for school. And if anybody is interested, they can either call us at the library, we can sign them up, or
need to conduct such in a manner. Mayor, last council meeting on January 24th, I personally feel that you allowed the city to be put in a position that's financially not going to benefit us in the courtroom. I know you inherited a lot of lawsuits, this whole council has, from previous councils. We're trying not to add more for us residents, please. District 5 can greatly use the money. We need money in District 5 badly. On January 24th, you allowed the meeting to become a circus. The individuals who are suing us are going to use that meeting to show your bias. In the past, when council members were opposed, order was restored immediately. I apologize. By you allowing a circus to stand there yelling out, clearly shows you favored them. You allowed individuals to place their signs and banners on seats. Also, the last individual who spoke on item number 8 didn't even submit a card. He walked straight up here. I'm pretty sure if there was someone who opposed, our police chief would escort him out because he would not be allowed to speak. Even though he would try, you would tell him no, you would cut the mic off and escort him out. In the past, we had individuals who taped their signs on the walls and they put their signs on the seats. And previous mayors had their signs removed immediately. If the lawyer representing the individuals who are suing us are wise as serpents, and some of them are serpents, they're going to use both those meetings as examples. There's no way to deny that the individuals were relieved of their duties because they did not favor you and the previous mayor. I know you have a desire for higher U.S. government positions, maybe even taking over for Linda Sanchez's position. I wish you the best. All I ask is for the next 10 months, you try to be fair and just in these chambers to minimize the risk of future lawsuits. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sanchez. Next.
Next speaker is Margot Iser, followed by Ana Jurado.
And can we make sure that the timer, because our timer didn't show up, so.
Hello. I didn't realize that the 2 items I want to speak about first were on the agenda, but I just wanted to say that, first I want to say that it would be great to have Zoom meetings again because many more people could participate. The second item I want to tell about is that it would be so really good if that you would have the prevention and support people please investigate and find out the actual causes of the houselessness so that those can be remedied and then the problem would be solved. And then the fourth item, which is that when we're doing this transit quarter about traffic and safety, I think that it should be a policy enforced and required and enforced that there be living officers throughout the city who actually stop and give tickets to people who've done dangerous and illegal things. All the time I'm driving through and there's no But he giving them, you know, somebody could do something very innocuous and the cops will stop them. So let's just make the cops be really responsible for parking violations and running through red lights and pedestrians crossing and you know, all kinds of stuff that should be enforced. They should be regularly enforced. And also get some speed limit signs in certain areas. Oh, and I'll just have to say, make sure all the streets are paved so that they're safe. It won't just be this one corridor, okay? And then I will come back for the agenda items. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Margot. Next.
For the speaker, we're having technical difficulties on the clock. You won't see it, but the deputy city clerk is tracking the time. So she'll notify you.
That means I won't get that extra minute was taken away last week.
Next speaker is Ana Jurado, followed by Linda Nicholas.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, council, and audience. On behalf of Match 906 for all veterans and residents with family members who are veterans, would join me in thought and prayer to pay tribute and honor to the 5 Marines killed when their Super Stallion helicopter went down in the mountains outside of San Diego. The 5 decorated veterans are Captain Jack Casey, 26, Lance Corporal Donovan Davis, 21, Sergeant Alec Landon, 23, Captain Benjamin Moulton, 27, and Captain Miguel Nava, 28. All were based at Marine Corps Air Station Miramar in San Diego. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Thank you for our freedom. May God bless you, and may you all rest in peace. Semper Fi. At the last meeting, I was and still very disappointed as to how out of control and disruptive the meeting was conducted. I remember last year at a council meeting, we weren't allowed to fly American flags, nor hang flags on the wall. Last I remember, this is the United States of America. But yet flags were flown from other countries, albeit they could have been displayed respectfully for their supporters. Mostly, I'm very disappointed at the disrespect given to Dudley Chee, World War II veteran, United States Army private, first-class paratrooper, 82nd Airborne. I'm beginning to believe this council and some of their supporters have no respect for veterans, whether our veterans are U.S. citizens or employees, and also who knows, maybe residents. We should be thankful for all our rights and freedoms we all have in this country because of our veterans, especially, Madam Mayor, all you accomplished as an immigrant, and you should be proud, thanks to our veterans. But still, I have one question based on your dossier. Did you become an American citizen? Also, the council members who made proclamations regarding their beliefs and status. We need to remember to be thankful to our veterans who signed a blank check for our freedom. Remember, veterans do not pick and choose who should have First Amendment rights. They are Americans. They fought for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jurado. Next.
Next speaker is Linda Nicholas, followed by Will Severo.
My name is Linda Nicholas, co-founder of Match 90640, address on file. I'm retired, so of course I'm going to read all 548 pages of an item 11 included in the giving away of the largest agreement on our city's largest property. Also, can someone explain to me how the city can give away a property they don't even own? What is JS going to say about this? If you approve this going forward, you're going to open up the city to another lawsuit. But it's okay, it's another house, so it's not your money. This evening, I have given each of you copies of the Surplus Land Act for the record. So each person involved in item 11 cannot plead ignorance to the law. You have a copy right in front of you. Also, I have given copies of the contract dated October the 12th, 2005, where it breaks down the exact uses for public park, open spaces, and the golf course land. Per the contract, it states, should be voted upon by the citizens of Montebello. That's us, people here, okay? This property should be conserved, quote, this property should be conserved, protected for the benefit of the citizens. This is a city-built property. A city is not for profit, and this agreement is a gift of public funds. This also seems like it's a state HCD violation. And can you, city manager, tell us how much money the city will be making? Because I read the tier steps up to 7 million, then 9.5 million, then $12 million. Would you explain to us, please? I'm retired. I have how much the city's gonna make from this deal? I couldn't find a dime that we were gonna make. Over 67 residents depend on your judgment to lead the city. I find it ironic, Mr. Alvarez, the city manager has been here 3 weeks, and he's been given the power by consensus to award a 30-year contract costing the city up to $12 million. $12 million. And yet the former city manager wasn't allowed to buy a pencil without your approval. That's hypocrisy. You want to know what I know the vote's going to be? No, yes, yes, yeah, no, excuse me, abstain and yes. I'll bet you that's what the vote's going to be. Also, a contract should protect both parties. I said this to you, Mr. City Attorney Glassman. This contract sure looks like it's one-sided, and it's not protecting the city at all. You, Mayor Peralta, owe Mr. Dudley Chi a public apology for the disrespectful way he was treated about speaking. The last meeting was so out of control. Never again can anybody tell us to stop clapping or speaking out. You lost that right with the circus last time.
Thank you, Ms. Nicholas.
Next speaker is Will Severo, followed by Rosa Tamayo.
Hey, Council. Thank you for allowing me to talk. It's very concerning what we're dealing with here. Except for Georgina Tamayo, everybody cannot say that they did not know that the signature was not given by Brad Perrin to be able to give away the rights. For anybody that was here in 2016 through 2017, they would have known that he has his contract to 2064. Now, could bet money on it that you guys were told by legal counsel that it's good to go, so you guys took out an $80 million bond. Now, everybody's gonna start trying to attack each other. At the end of the day, you all voted on it. We tried to warn you, we said this would happen, so now we're stuck in a situation where we're getting told, if you do not give into this extortion by Brad Perrin, then we will be going into a lawsuit tomorrow by Topgolf. Everybody pretty much was sent already about previous case law. Mr. Arnold Glassman right now is trying to fingle real quick through his law things because he doesn't even remember that. Most of us already think he's drunk, but that's our opinion. But he is the final line of defense. He failed. We went out to a bond. He didn't have a signature. He let the grounds be clear cut. He didn't have a signature. You guys are going to be moving on a contract that's specifically going to say after 2054, he's going to be able to, how would I put it, go out to bid, and you guys can go to anybody you want. That's a farce. His actual food contract ends in 2064. There's a lot more information. Unfortunately, we have a limited time. I was trying to take care of my sick mother, but we had to come over here because for some reason, every day it's a holiday like Valentine's. All of a sudden, an important meeting and audio and video goes out. Now, I'm not trying to say this is council, but it's quite a coincidence that this is all going on. Now, if you voted on it, we're stuck in this, at least fight for it. And because we are in this situation, there's no reason why you guys cannot fire Arnold Glassman's firm because that's who is at fault here. Chris Cardinale does not make a move without that man's approval. If you go around to their normal residents, most of them are telling you they're tired of the politics. They're tired of the corruption. Make a stand and do something. It is an election year coming up, and this is going to be a defining moment. You guys can use all the excuses you want. They cannot bankrupt us because also Brad Perrin will lose out because we'll lose everything and he loses his businesses. On February 29th, his ABC license is going to be up. So maybe all of us residents, since he wants to put us to the gun to the head, why don't we start sending in letters to ABC since he was selling alcohol to underage minors? He was also having gambling or some sort, according to the codes, that was written on there. Thank you for your time. We'll be watching.
Thank you, Mr. Cervera. Next speaker.
Next speaker is Rosa Tamayo.
Buenas noches,
Good evening,
Mayor and miembros del Concilio.
Mayor and members of council.
Yo soy Rosa Tamayo
My name is Rosa Tamayo.
y como quiero decirles que soy una india yaqui
I want to say I'm an Indian, I'm a Yaqui Indian.
y siempre nosotros los indios yaquis hablamos por la gente que no puede hablar.
We Indians, Yaqui Indians, we speak for those people that cannot speak.
Y también agarramos las batallas que nos importan,
We also choose the battles that are important
porque
for
tenemos
us
alto sentido de la justicia.
because we have a high level of virtue of justice.
Ah, estoy escuchando mucho que de homeless, pero yo quiero hablarles del Homeless Anonymous,
I
que son
hear a lot.
familias
I
con
hear a lot about
niños.
homelessness, but I want to speak about Homeless Anonymous. Those are families,
Y se los he dicho, es muy alta la renta, el costo de la renta,
as I said before,
de la
the rent
vivienda.
is very high. The housing
Y
is very high.
muchas familias están casi al suicidio, con una depresión muy alta.
Many families are near suicide with a very high level of depression.
Y me doy cuenta porque yo estoy en un grupo muy grande de familias que tienen niños con disabilidades.
And I'm aware because I'm a member, and I know many families that have
De
children
diferentes
with disabilities,
ciudades.
and they live in different cities.
Y también quiero decirles que nos hacen falta mucha vivienda.
I also would like to express
Es
that we need a lot
urgente
of
que se hagan más
homes,
viviendas
houses. It's urgent to create new
afordables,
houses.
porque aquí en Montebello los departamentos, las fundaciones son muy viejas
Here
y
in
nomás
Montebello,
hacen make-up,
the rents,
hacen un maquillaje
the
nomás
rent,
y suben la
houses,
renta a como le da la gana.
they just they increase their rent as much as they feel like. And when it comes to fixtures, they just do just small touch-ups.
La otra cosa que quiero decirles que sí nos hacen falta policías.
Another thing I would like to say is that we do need police, an increase in the police department.
Y también porque estoy escuchando muchos problemas sociales que tenemos.
I have also heard many social issues that we've been having.
Pero también nosotros tenemos que cuidar nuestros propios bomberos y nuestros agentes de policía.
We also have to take care of our
Porque son,
the fire department and
son
also the police officers
porque son gentes que tienen una especial cuidado para nosotros.
Because they're the people that have a special duty for us.
Para cuidarnos. Y ellos también sienten, tienen corazón, tienen sentimientos.
They also have feelings, they also have a heart.
Y tenemos que el problema mental, la salud mental de ellos tenemos que cuidar.
We also have to support and take care of their mental health.
Y también quiero decirles que ya paren de estar haciendo crímenes municipales.
I also would like to
es un
say that they
fraude
stop
horrible
doing criminal
que
crimes,
se siente
city crimes.
Y dicen, oh, no importa, porque
those are done
la
with,
ciudad paga y regalamos
and
2 millones, 3
it is
millones.
said, well, it's okay, the city pays, and we
Al
give
Señor de
away
los cielos,
2 or 3
tantos
millions.
millones, a la Señora de los cielos, tantos millones. ¿Qué es
Millions
eso?
to Our Lady of the Cielos. What's that?
No, los contribuyentes que pagan tanto tax, no es posible que les estén haciendo esas jugadas.
Those games should not be done to taxpayers.
Y es una vergüenza que tengamos que tener un caso Wizard aquí también.
And it's a shame that we have to have a wizard case as well here as well.
Tiene que tener cuidado y
had to
cuidar
be-
nuestra ciudad porque ustedes son responsables
You had to
y tienen
exercise
la obligación.
prudence because you had to, you work for the city, you have the obligation.
A mí no me gusta tener una grilla como la que tuvieron la semana pasada, las pasada meeting, pero sí soy muy revolucionaria y no
I
quiero,
don't like to
no
have
quiero hacer una
disagreements like
revolución.
last time, but I am a revolutionary person.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tamayo. Next speaker.
Mayor, that does conclude all speaker cards for non-agenda items.
Okay, moving forward to staff communications on items of community interest. Mr. City Manager, are there any announcements that need to be made?
Yes, Mayor, council members. Just want to remind the community that tomorrow will be the first of 3 community budget meetings that we'll be having. This has been posted on social media and our website, but the first meeting tomorrow will be at the Montebello Senior Center. The address is 115 South Taylor Avenue. It'll begin at 6 p.m. The second meeting will be next week, February 21st, also at 6 p.m. at Reggie Rodriguez Park, 200 West Mines Avenue. And the last community budget meeting that we'll be having is the next council meeting. It'll be a joint meeting. It'll be February 28th in the city council chambers. Additionally, I did want to thank all our staff with fire, PD, Public Works for all their tireless efforts during the recent storms. Many of you know we had some pretty crazy storms that pretty much rained for 4 or 5 days nonstop. I can tell you that thanks to the leadership in these departments, the rank and file employees were working throughout the weekend nonstop. They mobilized, they organized, they addressed issues, they developed a plan of action overnight, and basically were able to address issues as they arose. Thankfully, there was not any major challenges or anything that happened, but I can tell you, while some of us were at home, we were addressing our issues or living our lives, our employees in these departments were out in the field addressing the concerns that we had in the community. So I do want to thank them for all their efforts in these efforts. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. City Manager. And I believe our City Clerk, Christopher Jimenez, does have an item of community interest that he would like to share.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. As your city clerk, I would like to take a moment to remind everyone about the upcoming presidential primary election. It's going to happen on March 5th, 2024. The last day to register to vote for the March 5th election is February 20th, 2024. Additionally, I want to highlight that there will be several voting locations throughout the city where you can cast your vote. Voting locations include Chet Hollifield Park, La Merced Academy, Montebello Foursquare Church, Montebello Commerce YMCA, Montebello Senior Center, and Henry Acuna Park. The dates and times for voting are listed on our city website. Some of the locations will be open for early voting, and there are others that will open for just 1 day. For those who are choosing to cast their vote using the vote by mail ballot, the city has 3 ballot box locations. That's going to be at Chet Hollifield Park, Potrero Heights Park, and Montebello Library. Lastly, I would like to inform the residents that the parking lot located on the east side of
general fund, but you know, I do a comprehensive review of all of our funds and look and, you know, move money accordingly where or make recommendations for moving expenses and revenues around for all of the funds. And then, as always, this is kind of our kickoff to budget season. And a reminder, a new initiative that was a city council priority. We have monthly budget reports available on our website. So again, just a reminder, you can go to our website. Under the finance department, you can find monthly financial reports there. And then just to reiterate what City Manager Alvarez was mentioning, we have some upcoming community budget forums. Again, this is another city council priority, and staff is excited to be able to go out into the community starting tomorrow at the Senior Center at 6 p.m., next Wednesday at Reggie Rodriguez Park, also at 6, to provide some budget updates and education and get some input. And then on the 28th, 2 weeks from now, another budget priority community meeting, but also an opportunity for city council budget priorities and an opportunity to get feedback directly from city council on budget priorities for next fiscal year. Again, early enough in the process that we can start to kind of incorporate near and long-term needs and wants into the budget. And then expanding on last year's effort of a budget survey. I've been working closely with the public affairs team and Director Cisnowski. That budget survey will be live tomorrow. So look for that on our website, social media. There'll be a QR code. And then we'll be, obviously pushing that more in our budget forums. It's a little bit of an updated survey from last year, but again, seeking community input into next year's budget, 24-25. And then again, just we got those meetings coming up in the community starting tomorrow. So here's where we're at as of mid-year. We adopted our general fund budget with a $628,000 surplus. Now that we've got 7 months, of actuals to kind of recalibrate, we're looking at about $194,000 surplus. So still a surplus, a little less, and I'll get into the details in terms of increased expenditures and some increased revenue projections, but still showing a surplus in the general fund for June 30th. And then just a reminder, the city of Montebello relies heavily on our sales and property tax for over half of our revenue. Good news, our assessed values continue to show some strength. Single family residential sales are down, but assessed values are still up. And we have some projects, obviously with Montebello Hills and some other housing and other development projects in town, Cesar Chavez project downtown, that will add to assist our assessed value. So we got a good property tax base that will continue to produce revenue. And then obviously sales tax between Bradley Burns and then the new Measure H sales tax, which is now in its 3rd year. So what we're looking at here, and you kind of just go to that far right-hand column, overall, we're looking at an additional $4.2 million in revenue in 23-24 projected versus what our adopted budget was. We had an adopted budget of $73.3 million, projecting $77.5 million now. You'll see a net decrease in sales tax projections, and mostly that's just from our Monterey Park Marketplace sharing. We do see an increase in property tax. Again, a lot of that is coming from our in lieu of VLF as that grows at a faster rate than our general fund property tax. And then what we continue to see is license and permits, especially related to building permits and items of that nature, showing some strong growth throughout the year. Again, a lot of this is, and when I say one time, it's going to be 3 or 4 years, but it's not a constant. With Montebello Hills and all the new property up there and Topgolf, we have some big one-time permit revenue coming in, which obviously helps us in the current year. But when we do revenue projections for ongoing, I always back out that one-time revenue and just make projections based on our long-term trends, so as not to overinflate. And again, just continued strong sales tax performance. The recession still seems to be far off, and fewer economists are projecting a recession at this point, at least in 2024. So that's good. Consumers still continue to spend. So that's a very good thing. Again, Montebello Hills, Topgolf, the Cesar Chavez Foundation project in downtown continues to add to license and permit revenue. Our investment income is up. We have more cash to invest, and also interest rates are up. So that's a positive. Property tax, again, is increasing. And some transfers in and out, we're seeing an increase there. Again, a positive revenue. So with Metro Heights, we'll really start to see the positive impact of that when it comes to property tax revenue July 1. So in 24-25. We've seen a little bit of revenue, just the assessor's office does assessments every January 1. So as construction's been going on the last couple of years, but now that houses have been sold and there's more completed construction, we'll actually see some decent revenue come July 1. I'll have some more updates as we go through the budget process, some more specifics, but I do know we'll see more Metro Heights specific property tax revenue come the next fiscal year. And then with Topgolf, anticipated, spring opening, we might see a little bit of sales tax revenue in this year, but we will start to see sales tax from Topgolf next fiscal year. And again, I'll be able to provide some more specific estimates with the budget when we, start doing budget presentations in April and May. And then Director Palumbi and Economic Development Manager, we've been talking about some potential sales tax generators. Still nothing specific, but I think there's some stuff on the horizon that will positively add to our retail base and our sales tax revenue. And then again, so here's our sales tax focus. We get projecting almost 26 million total in sales tax, up to $10 million now projected in Measure H. So a nice significant increase in sales tax through that 3/4 cent transaction and use tax. And then again, the economy continues to improve post-pandemic. People still buy things. We're starting to see, continue to see, Amazon and other online sales help the city as we get revenue through the county pool. And then the updated forecast assumes a 1.2% growth, modest. And that's, again, we work closely with our sales tax consultant on those revenue projections. And on the other side of the ledger are expenditures. Police and fire being the biggest chunk of our general fund. Obviously, there's public safety is a priority, and between our first responders and the equipment and the supplies and the contracts to services to support what they do, it's over half of our budget. Which again, public safety being a priority is not a surprise. That public works chunk, that is the non-general fund. So you're looking at park maintenance, facilities maintenance, engineering. So the CIP would be, another $18+ million on top of that general fund portion of 23% of public works. And then for expenditures, again, we're looking, we had an adopted budget of about $72.6 million. Second quarter projected $77.3 million. There's been some budget amendments throughout the fiscal year, and let me get into the details here. So amended budget of $76.3 million. Since July 1, we've had about $3.6 million in budget amendments. A portion of that is kind of our end of year process where we roll over unspended purchase orders. We call them encumbrances. Pretty standard. As we're finishing our general plan update, that's a $300,000 rollovers. Director Palumbi and his staff are working to complete that. We've had some building services, some vehicle purchase POs that roll over. So that's pretty standard. And then we've had throughout the fiscal year, $2.4 million in city council approved budget amendments. For example, the Care Solace contract that was approved after budget adoption. Extensive, as you're aware, but extensive damage to the police building that was, we were finally able to identify where that damage was coming from. There's been about $800,000 worth of work so far, with more coming. Our brownfield engineering study, fire department's local hazard mitigation plan, that's a requirement by FEMA. Some significant vehicle repair service, how those MOU changes are actually playing out in terms of salary and benefits, which gets compounded when we have to pay for overtime. So I know both the chiefs are working hard to continue to fill vacancies, and we're hoping for some more full staffing, which obviously will increase salaries, but will increase overtime. So looking forward to that. And then on the non-departmental side, we had a second of 2 payments for a settlement agreement payment. And then we're finally finishing the spending of some old bond proceeds. The Taylor Ranch money, I think, is how it's been referred to in the past. And we have about $60,000 or $70,000 that we're finally spending down on that. So one of the recommended action items for tonight is some required budget amendments. I am pleased to announce that we will be recognizing $2 million in revenue from Home 2 Suites. As the bond indentures for both hotels indicate, there's a flow of funds that go towards paying debt service and operating expenses. after those things are paid for along with other expenses, any remaining funds left, the city can grab and sweep into the general fund. So Home 2 Suites has been doing very well in recent years. So we're able to sweep $2 million and recognize that as general fund revenue. In part of my review of non-general fund expenses, I realized there are a few police and public works grant funds that didn't have money appropriated, so we're cleaning that up with this budget action. Golf course fund, obviously with planting the grass and the landscape, it took a lot of extra water than we were anticipating, so we're gonna increase the budget there to pay for the extra irrigation. Again, extra irrigation that was not typical when it was the old golf course. Housing Successor Agency, part of the agreement for that Cesar Chavez project downtown was to lend $549,000 to the project, so we need to do a budget appropriation for that. And then as the citywide information technology upgrade project is progressing, we need to recognize, again, this has nothing to do with the contract itself. It's just moving funds to balance the expenses with the budget appropriation. And then in the general fund, those are all non-general fund budget amendments. As I mentioned, we have additional overtime in police and fire, so we need to do some budget amendments for that. Our old Station 57 has some major roof, door, and HVAC repairs, so again, unexpected, but I guess, not unplanned, but not unexpected for a 75-year-old building. Again, our fire truck, over 20 years old. Fire chief just told me that the new fire truck, we won't get that till December now. There's been some additional delays. We were supposed to have gotten that last year. So we obviously have to have a primary and a backup fire truck in service. As we continue to rotate out police patrol vehicles, get rid of some really old vehicles, there's some additional equipment upfit for our new patrol vehicles that is required. The settlement agreement payment mentioned earlier. And then as we're finishing the building repairs, we're still having to rent portable restrooms for the use by the officers. So there's some budget amendments there to cover those expenses. And then, again, one of the recommendations from the state auditor as part of the 2021 audit was to provide more information on our hotels and how they operate. And what I have been doing is providing kind of a quarterly look back at our hotel operations, kind of comparing the current quarter with the prior year quarter. And what you'll see here is a Hilton Garden Inn as of second quarter through December of 23-24, $642,000 surplus, which is an increase over the same quarter last year of almost $300,000. Home 2 Suites, again, seeing a very good operations there, almost 3.2 million versus 2.9 million last year. So the hotels continue to do well. They continue to recover post-pandemic. And then looking at just full year actuals, you can see, fiscal year 2019, 2020, and even 2020, 2021, especially the Hilton Garden Inn, having closed down for the renovation, the pandemic hitting leisure travel very hard. You'll see those deficits there, but now climbing back out and showing surpluses in the last 2 years. Home 2 Suites running surpluses, small relative to their operations, small surpluses in those COVID years, but again, regaining traction and doing very well. Hilton Garden Inn, I get the daily reports from their management company. Their occupancy is plus or minus 89%, which is very good. I mean, we were back, even once they reopened, we were down to the 20% amount, 3-4 years ago. And again, just to re-emphasize, these hotels have never had to be subsidized by the general fund. There's the flow of funds is such that debt service, operating funds are all paid before anything else. So just to re-emphasize, they do pay for themselves. And as mentioned earlier, with the Home 2 Suites doing very well, we're actually able to recognize $2 million in extra revenue on top of them already having to pay their bills. And then the Home 2 Suites occupancy plus or minus 93%, again, doing very well. And we see both operations continue to recover as we move further and further away from the depths of the pandemic. And leisure and business travel continuing to improve. And then that's all I have. I'm going to leave this slide up for the benefit of the public just to reemphasize our upcoming budget meetings. But again, Mayor, thank you, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Director Solorza. I'll go ahead and open up the floor to my colleagues. Councilmember Tamayo, do you have any comments or questions? Oh, do you have any comments or questions?
Yes, I do. I have just two questions. One of them was a 400,000 for the marketplace. It was a projected, it was under 400,000. So what was that? Was that just?
Yeah, so we have a sales tax sharing agreement with the Monterey Park Marketplace. You know, the big provider is the Costco. So for the first 5 years of that agreement, we would get 50% of sales tax from Costco. Starting in year 6, it goes down to 18%. And that one's on me. I had thought that year 6 didn't end until the end of the calendar year. Actually, year 6 started July 1. So that's the recalibration there, where the 50% dropped to 18% sooner than I anticipated.
Okay.
It's important to note that 18% is in perpetuity, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Well, yeah. And we get 18% off of everything over there, the Chick-fil-A, you know, all those. So, yeah, I encourage my staff to go to lunch over there.
If I may, Councilmember Tamayo, just to add on to her question, I also read that there currently is a potential possibility of an additional tax that the city of Monterey Park is looking at implementing that could potentially benefit the city of Montebello as well. Do you mind speaking on that?
Yes, actually, thank you. So effective April 1st of 2023, similar to our Measure H, Monterey Park residents approved an additional transaction and use tax. I've been in contact with the finance director, my counterpart in Monterey Park, and yes, we will get, the city will, as part of the sharing agreement, we will get 18% of that new transaction and use tax that's associated with Monterey Park Marketplace. So
Would
yes.
that be in perpetuity as well, or is that?
No, it's in perpetuity.
Okay.
So the sales tax sharing agreement was written well enough and broadly enough that any changes to their tax base, a new transaction use tax, is included in that in perpetuity. So
Okay.
thank you for that. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. No, when I read that, I thought that was really great news. And in one aspect, we would be, losing some of that generated revenue, but that new tax measure that they're looking at implementing, we get to, in some sort of way, benefit and kind of cancel out that negative. Thank you. I'm sorry. Thank you so much. You can continue, Councilmember Tamayo.
Thank you. And yeah, so thank you for that explanation. That makes sense. My second question is regarding Metro Heights. If we can maybe at the next time just get an update, how many homes have been built, how many have been sold, and just an idea of what's going on up there.
Absolutely. I'll coordinate with Director Palumbi and we can get that information to you.
Great, thank you.
I was going to mention that what's in the queue is also to kind of bring an update presentation on that as they're entering their phase 2, obviously, additional homes, park, recreational spaces that are being built. I know residents are eager to find out exactly how it's happening and it's progressing, so it's something that we're already planning to bring to council.
Okay, great. That concludes my questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Tamayo. Councilmember Torres?
None at this time, Mayor.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem Melendez?
Just thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
Councilmember Jimenez?
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Jimenez. And just generally, I want to thank you and your team for really implementing a comprehensive community-focused budgeting process this year, which entails 3 community forums as listed. Oh, it's not currently listed on this screen, but you can find it on social media, as well as inviting our residents to join us at 3 different locations within our community to not only learn about the budget, but actually contribute your feedback to help shape the budget in the incoming 2024-2025 process. This will also include Montebello's first online budget survey, which was actually implemented last year with the support of this council. And so I truly appreciate our finance team and staff for their support and really realizing robust opportunities for our community to help share their priorities and reflect their priorities as well in this upcoming budget season. I also do just want to recognize and thank council. Previously, there was a consensus that was given to expand our tree replacement program. So last year was the first allocation that the city implemented through a $50,000 funding to be able to replace trees throughout our community. We did give consensus to amend this year's budget and included an additional $25,000 program to expand our efforts. And so I know that within our community, there's a really big interest, especially being a community that suffers through pollution and overcrowding, the additional need for urban forestry. And so this is a really great initiative and really excited to see this being expanded, and also hope that the support continues for the upcoming budget for that. With that, that concludes my comments for this presentation. And now moving forward with consent calendar. If we can please have our city attorney read the statement of approval on consent items and allow council to pull items for discussion. Oh, that's right, thank you. May I please receive a motion to receive and file item number 7, fiscal year 2023-24, second quarter budget report?
Motion.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Torres. Can I please get a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Tamayo. Mr. City Clerk, may you please do roll call?
Councilmember Tamayo?
Aye.
Councilmember Torres?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Melendez?
Aye.
Councilmember Jimenez? Mayor Peralta?
And I vote aye. And so moving forward now to consent calendar.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. All matters listed on the consent calendar are considered to be routine. Any items a member wishes to discuss, including any items the public submitted speaker cards for, should be designated at this time. All other items may be approved in a single motion. Such approval will also waive the reading of any ordinance. We're dealing now with items number 8 through 16. Let me start with public requests.
Yes, we do receive speaker cards for agenda item number 8, agenda item number 10, and agenda item number 11.
8, 10, and 11. Thank you. And if I may poll the council, Madam Mayor? Let's start with Councilmember Tamayo.
No further items.
Okay. Councilmember Torres?
No additional items.
Mayor Pro Tem Melendez?
No items.
Councilmember Jimenez?
Are we asking to pull items? Is that what you're asking on that?
Yes, and we have speaker cards on 8, 10, and 11.
Okay. No, I'll just 11, but that's it.
Okay. And Mayor Peralta?
No additional items. And just to clarify, do we have speaker cards for item number 9 as well, or no? No,
No.
okay. Thank you.
So then, Madam Mayor, it'd be appropriate to entertain a motion on items number 9 and items 12 through 16.
Okay, may I please get a motion to approve those items?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, motion by Mayor Pro Tem Melendez. May I please get a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Torres. May I please have our city clerk do roll call?
Yes, Councilmember Tamayo?
Aye.
Councilmember Torres?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Melendez?
Aye.
Councilmember Jimenez?
Aye.
Mayor Peralta?
And I vote aye, and we can move forward with public comment for the items that were pulled.
Very well, we're starting with agenda item number 8, and we have Joseph Sanchez.
I didn't want to yell from the back of the room, but I just want to pull my minutes. I want to wait for tomorrow's budget meeting to add some more information I want to add. Thank you.
Next up, we have agenda item number 10, Margot Iser.
Good evening.
Hope you had a good Mardi Gras too. I'm here because I wanted to say, it just occurred to me that over 9, that there should be public input before you do any decisions on items 10 and 11, because that really affects us and would help maybe save us a lot of money if we could negotiate a different kind of deal. My objections or my suggestions about item 10 is that, I also said that the homeless thing, let me say, I said that before. The big thing about this is that you have to make sure that this company, that's the tree company, is qualified and really able and willing and knowing how to really take care of our supposed new urban forests, and the ones that are already there. And I think we should be consulting with like the tree people to find out their evaluation of what this group, this company has been doing before granting them any more money. And I think that it would be very important whether they could maintain the expansion of the Bicknell Park to include all the land around the Scout House and the Wyatt Cannon and the Paris Home 2 Suites and all the way down that south area, and then around the front of the property over, and even include renovating the Dutcher Tot Lot and making that a really attractive place, the part below the driving range and everything. People would come and get healthful exercise in a natural environment, but the tree people should be the ones to advise it before you grant any contract to this particular entity, because I don't know what they're in charge of, but sometimes it doesn't seem like they actually properly care for the trees. They don't know what the native plants are. It seems like we should be looking for a different company or evaluating the one we have, so that we can just make sure that our money isn't being wasted and our things are being saved, our precious entities of our trees and our things. So I want to encourage you just to say no and postpone the decision on this budget item, and then let us have more input. And I think you would be very, very appreciated by us, the people of the city, and it would enhance our lives to have a better urban forest, but that's really taken care of properly. Okay, I think that's what I wanted to say. I tried to get my notes properly done. So you know what, you know me, and I've been doing this for a long time, and we have to just really, really, really be realistic. And I think that maybe even the tree people have a company that they promote or that they support that we could trust to be really real careful about our precious trees and our special ecosystem that is a rolling oak woodland and the trees like that. And we even attract more other species, and the people can out get exercise in healthful ways in nature. And I think we would be a really more attractive place if we did that. Okay, so that would just postpone this budget item of this giving money to this company until we've evaluated it, and let it be really helping us rather than hindering us. And we could be really beneficial for now and for the future. Okay, does that, I hope I didn't rehearse, so I don't know the timing. I try to scribble my notes here. But I think we should be calling the whole entire place Bicknell Park, the whole remaining it, because it's really what the people who originally made that a public golf course, they wanted it to be a public thing, and a public park and open space would fulfill that. So thank you. And we know you have petitions there on file that most of the people of the city want that.
Thank you, Ms. Iser.
Madam Mayor, just for clarification, when the speaker comes up, are we having them address all the consent agenda items at the same, during that 3-minute, or?
I would recommend doing it by portion, so once we finish one, we can move to approve or take a vote on. So since we did item 8, can we go back and just
Then why don't we do that?
take
Okay,
that?
thank you,
Yeah.
Madam Mayor. So just for clarification, were there any other speaker cards for item number 8?
No, so we only had one speaker card for agenda item 8 and one speaker card for agenda item 10.
Okay, so then we go back to item number 8 for consideration of approval to receive and file. Item number 8, which is the City of Montebello First Mile, Last Mile Master Plan.
Yes, can I please get a motion to approve item number 8?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, motion by Mayor Pro Tem Melendez. Can I please get a second? Second. Okay, second by Councilmember Jimenez. Mr. City Clerk, may you please do roll call?
Councilmember Tamayo?
Aye.
Councilmember Torres?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Melendez?
Aye.
Councilmember Jimenez?
Aye.
Mayor Peralta?
And I vote aye. Do we have any additional speaker cards for item number 10?
No, Mayor, we just had that one speaker card.
Okay, so can I please receive a motion to approve amendment number 1 to agreement number 3822 with Complete Landscape Care, Inc.?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Melendez, second by Councilmember Torres. Mr. City Clerk, may I please do roll call?
Councilmember Tamayo,
Aye.
Councilmember Torres,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Melendez,
Aye.
Councilmember Jimenez,
Aye.
Mayor Peralta.
And I vote aye. Moving forward to the next portion of public comments.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Next is agenda item number 11. First speaker is Vincent La Roca, followed by Alexandra Briceno.
So good evening again. So I was shocked to learn that this item was added to the agenda again, especially on another holiday. I think the last time this was added was, I think it was like Christmas Eve or something like that. So last time I spoke about this Christmas Eve was, there was no financial analysis done to compare this management company with alternatives. So no competitive bidding procedures were taken. So it's such an irresponsible decision to extend an existing contract that's been going on since 1974 for another 30 years without getting any expert opinions from third-party independent advisors. So the city must issue a request for proposals and conduct a formal competitive bidding process to get a more favorable agreement. And an independent hotel management consultant can evaluate the proposals and give a fair judgment as opposed to what's been done in the past. The current operator has managed the hotels and Quiet Canyon since 1974, and there's no background in tonight's agenda packet or record of the city ever completing a bidding process to decide on these extensions. So instead, the current agreement has repeatedly been extended without going out to bid, which equates to an indefinite agreement for over 50 years. And if this is approved, for up to 80 years. So it's not wise to enter into, to extend this. And most governments and businesses would never do something like this. So let's operate like if you always, the city council always, has a saying that we have to conduct the meetings in a business fashion. So let's also make our decisions in business fashion. So let's look at other proposals from other management companies, and let's watch out for the financial health of the city. In addition, we should have community meetings that explain the finance behind these decisions, get input from the community as to what type of operator should manage these hotels. For example, do we want an operator that supports local union labor? What is the current hotel operator doing in terms of treating its workforce? We don't know because communities is never involved. It's all these decisions are happening behind closed doors. And we also want an operator that invests back into the community and has a goal to positively improve the general fund and the budget and the city's budget, as opposed to appropriating funds every once in a while, just to approve an extension, right? We actually want to see a consistent record of the general fund being improved by this management company. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. De La Roca.
Next speaker is Alexandra Briceno, followed by Jesse Valencia.
Mr. City Clerk, can you give me a 30-second warning, please? Thank you.
Yes, of course.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. The reason why we are facing this dreadful motion tonight is because there's a practice of doing backroom deals. 2 years ago, former Mayor Kimberly Ann Cobos Cawthorn led an effort to engage in backroom deals to bring Topgolf to Montebello. She was perhaps well-intentioned and impatient, like many of us, to bring an exciting business like Topgolf to our city. But she, along with council members, knew that we were going to have to give Mr. Perrin something in exchange for him to give up his food and beverage rights over the new Topgolf complex. So she and members of our council went behind closed doors and negotiated with Mr. Perrin. Picture this:
Kimberly Ann Cobos Cawthorn, a trust fund baby who probably never worked a real job in her life, was wheeling and dealing with Brad Perrin, a shark of a negotiator, our city attorney, who we know doesn't have our back, and our former city manager, who also did a lot of damage to us. Our poor city never stood a chance. How should she have handled things? You know, Ms. Weisner, is that your last name? Eisner. She always says, involve the community. That's what Kimberly should have done. She should have let the residents decide whether they wanted to take on the bond debt. She should have placed the item on the ballot with language detailing all the costs, the bond debt, and Mr. Perrin's concessions. And our attorney and city manager, if they truly had our backs, should have advised her and our council not to get entangled in bond debt until the food and beverage negotiations were finalized. But like always, some of you have been played, and some of you are in collusion with Mr. Perrin, and Montebello residents are left to carry more and more debt burden. I have a few asks that you please consider to amend the motion to include a few things. Number one, include financial audits yearly from a reputable firm like Montague DeRose. We need to see reports like those. Also, 4 web pages added to our city web page, 4 of them. A page that shows the incremental sales of the Home 2 Suites. The amounts could reset at the end of the year. A web page that shows the sales revenue of the Hilton Garden Inn. A 3rd page dedicated to tracking the sales revenue of the 9-hole golf course, and a 4th page that tracks all the food and beverage sales of the facilities in the golf course campus. Currently, we don't have a process to track how much these enterprises generate. We trust Mr. Perrin's revenue declarations. Oh boy. Once the hotel bonds are paid off, is there a clause that says that if the hotels are a drain on the general fund, that we have the option to close them? And last but not least, fire our city attorney. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Briseño. Can we please have the next speaker?
Next speaker is Jesse Valencia, followed by Margot Iser.
Good evening, my name is Jesse Valencia. I'm the property owner right in front of the new Top Golf. I was brought to my attention in the beginning of 2023 of an impact report to do a street widening and also a bus turnout lane. That report was finished back in May of 2023. I requested an update on this project because it's gonna affect my tenants and also my business back in May. I requested this from the assistant director, the ex-director, and planning and engineering. For some reason, I set up meetings through my brokers, emails, and direct messages that I left. And for some reason, nobody wants to give me any feedback on an update on this project, if it is gonna go through or it's not gonna go through. So I'm looking for a different avenue of how to get in contact with somebody. The 160-page environmental impact report was initiated through Rita. I did have a brief meeting with Rita and my broker. She made it odd that she said she had no knowledge of this project or the initiation of this report. But when I asked her, I go, how's your name on it? I go, why didn't you file a lawsuit? Somebody is putting your name on a report. You have no knowledge of it. I think she's not being very transparent of what's going on. So I'm just trying to get in, some direction of which direction to go with this. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Valencia. Mr. City Manager, I know you stepped out, but if we can please have staff get his information, and if they can please assist him in the inquiries he has on the impact report.
Absolutely. My apologies.
If we can move on to the next speaker.
Next speaker is Margot Iser.
Margot with a T, Iser with an E. And I really just want to say a comment that it's really good that there will be park rangers at the different parks, including the one on Bicknell Park, the big expanded Bicknell Park. But I do want to say that please just stop and get competitive bidding on this agenda item, this item. We need to find a management company that's objective, that's possibly cheaper, that all kinds of things could be controlled by the city rather than by some private entity. So I want to keep it like we really, for the benefit of the people who, it's supposed to be a municipal golf course, so that whole remainder of the park is going to be our actual property to benefit us. So please open this to competitive bidding and evaluate the potential, managers, et cetera, for their competency and their concern for the very valuable items and concerns that you've expressed as your voters, so to speak, the constituents and the citizens. So we really need to just wait on this and just really, really, really investigate some other alternatives and find a cheaper one possibly, because, it's our money, and why should we spend a whole bunch of money to something that isn't going to, we want it to help us rather than hurt us. So you understand what I'm saying? It's okay to say no sometimes, okay? And then wait and find out some better alternatives. Okay, I hope that this works and that we can all meet together more often in friendly, good places. But really seriously, we are your constituents and we have had petitions, and this relates to that. I didn't know that was all involved with him managing all these other things. So I think we better wait to find out and get some better competitors to, give some better balanced budget, better balanced budget. I think I made it clear, okay? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Iser. We can please have the next speaker.
Mayor, that does conclude all speaker cards for agenda item 11.
Okay, thank you so much. So now I'll go ahead and have it on the floor for our council, and going off and seeing if we have any comments or questions. Councilmember Tamayo?
Yes, for agenda item number 11. So the amendments to the agreements before us go back to the later part of 2022. The city passed a bond, signed a deal with Topgolf, and now needs to finalize these negotiations in order to fully operate and comply with the Topgolf amenities. That's my comment.
Thank you so much, Ms. Tamayo. Councilmember Torres?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This item has come forward this evening because the folks that run Quiet Cannon and our hotels are threatening to destroy the Topgolf project and by extension the city of Montebello unless their demands are met. Either these agreements are entered into or they'll use their contractual authorities over the golf course property to inhibit Topgolf's operations and threaten Montebello's financial sustainability. Most of us on this dais were not involved in negotiating this contract package. The makeup of the administration back in 2022 is responsible for the general schemes we see here this evening. What's more, when this item came forward with more onerous provisions in December 2022, and with a different council makeup, that council deferred action on the contracts instead of striking them down when they had the chance. We didn't ask to be in this position. The folks who oversee the golf course and hotel operations are taking advantage of the project's near completion and the fact we're relying on Topgolf's operations to meet our bond payment obligations. They're playing a dangerous game with extremely high stakes. However, and regardless of whether or not we're responsible for our current predicament, our task is to lead the city, forced to identify the greater good, the lesser evil. I've personally been struggling with the idea that this item was coming forward for a vote. What I would like to do is fight. Make the statement that the city of Montebello can't be bullied by the self-interested motivations of a man or a group. Let the project stay closed. Let bond payment debts stack up against non-existent revenues. Face the storm of financial distress and an outraged constituency to make a point. Reallocate sales tax dollars from public safety to prolonged litigation. Redirect funding for public programs into all-consuming lawsuits. Let Topgolf, now 90% complete, rot vacant as a symbol of how righteous we are. There would be some personal satisfaction in marching toward a Pyrrhic victory. Then I think about the vast majority of residents, those of us who for the last 30 years watched the Hills Project with its promise of Mediterranean styling, a fire station, and a school turn into cubes on a ridge with little public benefit. Those of us for the last 15 years who've watched politics delay the Montebello Boulevard underpass as cities all along the Alameda corridor benefited from their own traffic easing construction in the meantime. The many decisions, all the way down to a vacant Jimmy's, French Cafe, and formerly fenced-off Taylor Ranch, where our city seems to be on the road to progress until we trip right before the finish line and Montebello falls short of resident expectations yet again. These contracts do give rise to serious questions. What about the state auditor, who's been highly critical about contracts at the hotels and golf course? Is this the best financial decision for Montebello? What, in this moment, is a prevailing priority, and are we meeting our obligations? The first priority is to operate within the scope of the law. These contracts, as offensive as they may be, are within our legal obligations. The second priority is the financial interest of the city. Montebello is better served through the continued progress towards opening the facility than entering into litigation with a much larger $2.5 billion corporation with vastly greater resources. The third priority is the will of the residents within the confines of our legal and fiduciary responsibilities. I believe the vast majority of residents, given the opportunity to consider the question we have today, would come to the conclusion we're better served by realizing Topgolf than sacrificing the well-being and reputation of the city for uncertain outcomes. I'm reminded of an old joke about a man drowning in an ocean asking for God to save him. He tells two passing ships in a helicopter to leave him alone because God will save him. At the pearly gates, he asks God why God let him perish, and God replies, I sent you two boats in a helicopter. At this moment, we are that drowning man. Are we taking a boat to save the city, or are we going to tread water in stormy seas hoping for a miracle? I believe it's in the best interest of our residents and the residents' sincere wish that this project continue unimpeded. And that concludes my comments, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Torres. Mayor Pro Tem Melendez, do you have any questions or comments?
I echo some of the sentiments that my colleagues have shared. Have no additional comments. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mayor Pro Tem Melendez. Councilmember Jimenez.
Yes, I do have several concerns. So while this is an item that that many of us aren't seeing for the first time, I had a very troubling concern that our new city manager put it on consent calendar. So I reached out to him early this morning, asking why this was on the agenda, and not only why it was on the agenda, but why it was on as a consent item. Because in essence, what he's asking us to do now is gift Maverick this Quiet Canyon facility, which was built with taxpayers' money, also giving away property that we haven't yet acquired. Basically asking us to act unlawfully. And I don't understand how this is responsible, Mr. Alvarez, or transparent or ethical, because you were quoted in the Whittier Daily News months ago as trying to change the narrative of Montebello. So we can continue to blame people in the past. This is your responsibility now. And about an hour and a half ago, you expressed to me that you were actually the one driving this, and you put it on the agenda because when I asked you, why are you doing this? You said it was the right thing to do, and I said, in exchange for what? I said, in exchange for these agreements. Now, I think understanding that you come from a city where the DA has for years been sticking their nose in because of a lot of questionable activity, I'm going to ask the residents and my colleagues that we do not allow this to come into our city. And by you doing this tonight, by you putting this on the agenda, and I'm glad Mr. City Attorney was there because he was witness to our conversations. Our conversation was, which did get a little heated because I cannot, in good faith, move forward with supporting this. I also included in that email that I sent you earlier the ICMA Code of Ethics that I don't think you're familiar with, and I added this for your personal growth because I don't think that since you've been here, you've been acting according to this Code of Ethics. And what we are seeing here right now is not a good example of taking the city in the right direction or continuing to move the city in the right direction. And I pleaded with you, Mr. City Attorney, to not do this tonight and to act ethically.
Does that conclude your comments, Councilmember Jimenez?
So I will not be supporting this. Because doing so, and this is for all of my colleagues, moving this item tonight would clearly be an open violation of state constitution bearing gifts of public funds. And the only time, and I put this in my email earlier, Mr. Alvarez, the only time I ever want to hear from our city, our Attorney General's office is for them to congratulate us on being an exemplary city. And this is not what we're doing. We're going to do something tonight. You're about to do something tonight that none of us, the city of Montebello has done terrible things in the past, or previous councils have, but this is beyond ridiculous and unethical.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Jimenez. And lastly, just as a general comment, that navigating the complexities of these contracts, Topgolf and related projects have been challenging, particularly considering that these contracts presented today and the developments of those projects were previously negotiated without my involvement and many of us on this dais, as we also lack the access to pertinent information by previous city leadership. These items are intricately linked to the opening of a facility poised to revolutionize our city's entertainment landscape and attract future investments into our community. Given these shortfalls and the need to rectify past decisions, we are exerting every effort to minimize potential legal challenges and avoid project delays. Of particular concern is the looming risk of Topgolf's failure to launch in our city, which could entail the loss of hundreds of local jobs and a vacant facility. Such an outcome would profoundly damage our city's reputation and hurt our residents' access to amenities and our community's access to future investments. And with that, if there are no other questions or comments, I can go ahead and have Mr. City Clerk do roll call.
Well, we need a motion first, Madam Mayor.
Oh, that's right, thank you. Can I please get a motion to approve item number 11?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Mayor Pro Tem Melendez. May I please get a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Torres. Can I please get roll call?
Councilmember Tamayo?
Aye.
Councilmember Torres?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Melendez?
Aye.
Councilmember Jimenez? Mayor Peralta?
And I vote aye. And motion passes. Thank you. Moving forward with the next part of our agenda, we do have the AB 1234 travel reports. I believe most of council were present in the last conference. I'll go ahead and go by roll call. Councilmember Tamayo?
Yes. For AB 1234, I had the opportunity to attend the winter seminar for the Independent Cities Association, and topics such as public safety, crisis management, legal training were discussed. Cities in and around us, including the city of Los Angeles, shared their police recruiting techniques and ideas. And given the recent recognition of the new police and fire department employees, I think Montebello is definitely heading in the right direction. So thank you to Chief Espinoza, I know he's not here, but and also Chief Pelaez and their teams for your continual dedication to grow our Montebello's police and fire departments.
Okay, Councilmember Torres.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I also attended the Independent Cities Association conference in Santa Barbara and received updates to public safety and new measures within that realm to increase and enhance residents' quality of life. Thank you.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Melendez.
Yes, thank you. As well, I also attended the ICA conference. It was my last weekend as a board member. I stepped down to have Councilmember Jimenez take a leadership position on the board. But overall, great conference. There was a special session on drones and cameras and how how the agencies work together to be able to, have some more vigilance out there and be able to provide some cases to present to a district attorney when there's some issues. So it was a pretty interesting sessions on law enforcement and public safety. Overall, great. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mayor Pro Tem Melendez, Councilmember Jimenez.
Attended the same conference. That's it.
Okay, and I also was in attendance and just want to share that my favorite part of the conference was in the crisis management presentation that was provided. We really learned about the importance of the cities being proactive when responding to any type of crisis that are going, whether it's man-made or anything related to climate change. And so I think there was a lot of great best practices that were received. We also learned about the fentanyl crisis and how important it is for cities to begin taking action and educating our residents, parents, on how to respond to these issues when it comes to their households and their children. That concludes our AB 1, 2, 3, 4 travel reports. And moving forward to our council agency orals, we do have Ms. Jimenez.
So one of the workshops that we attended was on fentanyl, and I had this conversation with several council members from different cities, and I'm not sure if our council was aware that our fire department and some of our PD is trained in administering Narcan, correct, Arlene? Isn't it? Something that, for me as a parent of teenage children, is very concerning, and not just because it's become something very threatening with teenagers, but just people overall. Fentanyl, deaths due to fentanyl are increasing rapidly. And I was speaking to Mr. Montgomery from Manhattan Beach, and he shared that everyone on staff, everyone citywide is trained on administering Narcan. So they have Public Works, Parks and Recreation staff, as well as fire and PD, who have taken the training to administer this. So I had a brief conversation with Angelica this past week on what we can do to figure out ways where we can either train our staff through our paramedics, or take Mr. Montgomery's offer to provide their paramedics to come and do some of the training, so that we have our staff, again, citywide, so that they understand and they know how to do this. So I'd like to ask for consensus so that we can work with our staff, specifically our fire department, our MCAP team, and figure out ways how we can train staff to do this.
Mr. City Clerk, if you may please do roll call.
Yes, Councilmember Tamayo?
So this is to look into it, right? Not to set that in place yet.
To look into, yes, to see how we can do it, whether it is through people donating their time to come and train our staff, including ourselves. I think it would be a good idea for some of us as well, not just staff, but the council members.
I vote aye.
Councilmember Torres?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Melendez?
Aye.
Councilmember Jimenez?
Aye.
Mayor Peralta?
I vote aye, and there's consensus. Next item.
What was the other one? So we have part of our running group now. We actually started. We do have an established nonprofit now. So we started specifically for Heart Health Month. What we are going to call Wonder Woman Wednesdays, which is going to end up being when we have our next meeting. We are sharing a post on our Run Montebello Run page. And there is a group of runners who are actually also cyclists. So we are starting our Ride Montebello Ride group, as well as Run Montebello Run. But Wonder Woman Wednesdays is a group of women coming together that are going to be doing the drum circles, drum healing circles, yoga, and everyone in the community is invited to come and join. It is absolutely free. All you have to do is RSVP well, when you see the post on our page, you can RSVP there. And again, that's going to be Wonder Woman Wednesdays on February 28th. That's it.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Jimenez. In the spirit of it being Valentine's Day, and I know a lot of us here have loved ones that are waiting for us back home, my council orders are pretty heavy. So if I can just ask if I can just please ask staff to pass these over to the next city council meeting, so I can just have more ample time to discuss some of my visions and some of my requests from my colleagues. Before moving forward with adjourning today, I do want to just make sure that we adjourn today in memory of the 5 Marines that did pass: Lance Corporal Donovan Davis, Sergeant Alec Langan, Captain Benjamin Moulton, Captain Jack Casey, and Captain Miguel Nava, who were 5 outstanding Marines from the 3rd Marine Aircraft Wing and Flying Tigers. If I can just please receive a moment of silence. Thank you. If I can please get a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, if I can get a second.
I second.
And we are adjourned. Thank you so much.